There was some hope when a new regime called the Young Turks took power in 1908, promising freedom and equality for all ethnic minorities. But they broke their promises, and in the name of a new Turkish empire, they moved viciously against the Armenians. Armenian women tried to avoid rape by burying themselves up to their necks in sand. The Turks herded people into caves and then set brush fires at the mouth of the caves, primitive gas chambers. When the Nazis began their reign of terror, Wegener wrote to Hitler imploring him to leave the Jews alone. Already planning genocide of his own, Hitler declared, "Who remembers what happened to the Armenians now?"
The Young Turks. Too strong. Was that good?
That was great,
okay.
Cenk.
Yes.
I've always had what I think other people would call delusions of grandeur. The mainstream media gives us credit for so much of the success of Bernie Sanders. Of course I should be the top talk show host. I should be the biggest talk show host in the country. Well, the Young Turks, the way I do it, I don't think anyone else does it better. I don't think anyone's even close.
Morning radio!
Goddamn Ashley Madison, why did they leak the names? Why? Why did they leak the names? What?
My first impression of Cenk was he was a complete jackass.
Most people either love him or hate him. And I didn't quite know where I fell on that spectrum in the beginning.
Cenk was just pretty annoying.
Cenk means in Arabic, fight. And not the fight is really battle, smaller battle.
He was probably the most conservative person I knew.
He used to laugh at the bleeding heart liberals.
I would say he identified with the Republicans and called himself a conservative, even though I don't think he really knew what he was talking about.
I actually didn't disagree with some of the stuff he was saying. But what I had a problem with was the way in which he'd said it was so over the top, so outrageous, so embarrassing.
Cenk likes to make pronouncements and announcements. He announced that what he likes to do is have opinions and think about things and then share them with the rest of the world. So what's the perfect job for that kind of personality? Well, it's to be a talk show host. How do you be a talk show host? Well, you can get a start on public access television. Because it's public access, they're obligated to give anybody in the community a slot on their show.
Hi, welcome to the Young Turk. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur.
And I remember walking off that set thinking, that's it. This is what I'm going to do the rest of my life.
The show was bad.
I think your attitude affects the issues.
I hope it affects the issues. I hope I get people to think like I do.
In a negative manner, not positively.
Okay, no. That's the beauty of the Young Turk. I'm getting the sense, Norma, you're going to disagree with that.
There's nothing beautiful about you, you Turk, and you should get a nose job.
A nose job?
When Cenk was doing his show, he was also working as a corporate lawyer for a big firm in D.C.
My job was to defend corporate officers on their liability litigation. So when a CEO screwed someone over, screwed their own company over, screwed investors over, we were there to help them.
He calls one day, he says he wants to quit. He said, you must be crazy. How can you do that?
His plan was to basically live off of money from his friends and family. And I thought that was so selfish. How much more do you want from your parents? So I was not supportive at all. In fact, I thought he would kind of suck as a talk show host.
One day I read in Broadcasting Cable that there is some new shows that they're trying at this station in Miami called Whammy. And then I found out one day that they were auditioning for entertainment reporters on their main show called The Times. I said, that's it.
I had my first interview here at the Times, and it was with my favorite female broadcaster of all time, the irrepressibly sexy Connie Chung.
He was horrible on the air. I mean, it was a train wreck.
I was devastated that night. I was like so hopeful. I'd finally made it on air on television, the station that I liked, and then it got yanked away in a day and a half. God, it hurt.
He just had interesting opinions on everything, really interesting opinions, different than other people. And I was like, no, let's just have him right.
So I definitely owed Ben that job.
Our station has been purchased by the Spanish-speaking network Univision. Now, to honor our new employers, the Times has instituted a brand new tradition, the mid-show siesta. Que bueno. Maybe the sale thing's not so bad after all.
We didn't speak Spanish, so we had to get a new job.
When Ben started explaining to Cenk why some of his so-called Republican and conservative views were not quite right, Cenk actually listened to him. Friends from New Jersey was saying this to him for years, but he he didn't listen to them as much as he listened to Ben.
And Ben was like, I told you, you're not a Republican. I thought, I got to go back and get my own show. I went to talk to Sirius Satellite Radio, and the guy there said, make a couple of audition tapes, send it to us, and if we like it, we'll put you on the air. And I did it by myself, and it was pretty good. I asked Ben, hey, do you want to do a radio show?
Our original idea was that we'd talk half about politics and half about J-Lo's ass.
I met Jill Pike in 2001, and I thought she'd be perfect for the show.
He started talking to me about this radio show that he had created and he was hosting, and that he was this big talk show host. I said, oh, really? It was almost like 2 cans and a wire.
At some point, someone at Sirius realizes, oh, these guys have a radio show on our station. I wonder if we should pay them. I wonder if we should keep them.
They agreed to give the Young Turks a live daily show on their political talk channel.
We had fun. I enjoyed it, but I didn't really get it. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that I was going over to talk on the radio, and that this would somehow segue into something for all of us.
So after a couple years of doing the radio show for Sirius, Cenk had yet another one in his series of epiphanies, announcements, and pronouncements. The way to go is not TV, it's not radio, it's video online.
I reacted to it like I think a lot of people did. Like, you don't want to do a show on the internet. That means you didn't succeed.
Talking about one story. The article are never goddamn mentioned in the goddamn headline.
It's impossible to talk to you about it.
No, because here, I'll show you.
I mean, I was always playing the straight man to Cenk's over the top.
Pretty hard to be the co-host when one guy is at that decibel level.
Well, it's not funny anymore. Now we've been here 3 hours, and American Airlines sucks. They decided, for whatever reason, to screw everybody on this flight. It just frustrates me that some industries just get to screw you over and go, nah, you got to fly at some point, right? Ha ha! It is Gustavo. That's a TYT viewer. And I'm hungry and I'm tired, and so, like, you know me, I get more agitated when I'm hungry and tired. So, look, if you guys think this is bad, wait till, if that plane doesn't actually come from the hangar in 20 minutes. Is the flight coming? Come on, Supervisor, is the flight coming? Supervisor, you at least got to be honest. Is there a flight? Is there a plane? You got to be honest. Is there a plane? Is there a plane? Where's the plane? Where's the plane? Is there a plane? Where is it? Where's the plane? But listen, if we just sit here and take it, they'd have us here until 6 in the morning, and then they'd fuck us even harder, okay? So, you're a supervisor, aren't you? Where's the plane?
Sorry, I'm not going to answer your question.
No, I know, because I've been here for 4 hours. Don't give me this. Where's the plane? Here, I got a question for you. When did you make the decision that we weren't going to have a plane? When did you make that decision? Who made the decision? Who made the decision that we weren't? It's funny to you, right? It's not funny to us. Who made the decision? Who made the decision? Who made it? Well, who is it then? That's what I'm asking. Whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? Is there a crew? Is there a crew? Is there a crew?
By yelling, we're not going to be able to answer your question.
Okay, let me whisper it. Is there a crew? Is there a plane or a crew?
Flight 204, your plane is already on its way from the hangar.
No, but they told us that 4 hours ago. Is it actually coming?
Lie after lie.
Is it actually coming? Because I literally heard it was coming from the hangar 3 hours ago. I literally heard that. Their job is to get the flight here. I mean, if
your job was to do your job and someone came to you and said, sir, your job is shitty, I don't like your job, you're doing terrible. Would you not say, bro, I know how to do my job, don't try me. You would defend yourself.
My brother, people say that I do a shitty job every day. Thousands of them do every day.
That's not a good thing.
Man, it has been a crazy, crazy, crazy night. All right, I think I'm gonna stop for now. If the plane does not come from the hangar in 15-20 minutes, I'll definitely turn it back on, and God knows what'll happen then. Jesus Christ! Is there a plane? Yes, the plane has arrived. They finally found the magical plane. Guess what just happened? They kicked me off the plane. Isn't that unbelievable?
If you asked me to vote for a Republican, I'd say, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Now Cenk was really obsessed with being the mouthpiece for the liberal blogosphere.
Because you're a Republican prick.
He would come in every day looking for whatever crap he could say about abuses that George W. Bush was doing.
I sort of withdrew from his vitriol when he was getting so angry. Jill didn't, and they were starting to bicker more.
I wanted Jill to focus on more of the pop culture news and less of the hardcore political news.
You know, I thought he was making a judgment on me. You know, like, you're not smart enough to be on the show, Jill, so we're just going to put you to some of the more softer content.
She thought she would rather do the whole show, or I think not the show at all.
So you're telling me that August 15th, you're done. You're going to D.C.
Moving to Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
A few weeks after I got hired, Jill decided that she wanted to move to Washington, D.C. Cenk realized that he needed somebody to book guests. So he actually promoted me from a part-time employee to a full-time employee.
So we decided, hey, you know what, Anna? Why don't we try you on the other side of the camera a little bit?
All right, this is Anna Kasparian, if you've never met her before.
Hello.
She wound up becoming one of our co-hosts.
But the hardest part for me is obviously the constant feedback, the constant criticism, the constant trolling. When you first start doing videos on YouTube, you're kind of obsessed with reading comments. You're like, oh my God, what are people saying? Do they like me? Do they hate me? Do they think I look good? Do they think I'm ugly? Like, you want to hear people's opinions. And then you start realizing that the more you read, the more you want to do self-harm. I love being a social justice warrior. I'd rather be a social justice warrior than a piece of fucking shit, okay? How about that? And you can call me a social justice warrior, you can call me whatever the fuck you want. At this point, I don't give a shit, okay? That's it, that's who I am. I have a hard time not disliking friends of mine who support Hillary. And I know that that's not a nice thing to say, and I really don't care. I have friends that I have sat down with and had very detailed conversations, detailed explanations for why she is not a good progressive candidate. Yeah. And they reject that evidence. And so how is it possible for me to respect them after that? We have a special edition of Guess the Camel Toe today.
Oh, we do?
We do. Let's do a little close-up. Who's Camel Toe?
Oh, for the love of God. What, you're claiming, what, you could beat me in a sprint and you could beat me in long distance? Are these the claims?
Long distance for sure.
This is not just for you, is it?
It's for my people.
This is a chance to strike back at the Ottoman Empire.
It is.
Essentially, and say no more genocide.
Right, he is the modern day leader of the Young Turks, correct?
He is, yeah.
And I gotta do this for my people. There's no way a man his size is gonna intimidate me in a 1 mile race.
Runners on your marks. Set. Race. You can do it. You can do it.
I can't do it. I can't.
And we have a winner by a technical knockout. Girls are weak.
Conservative pundit George Will was on This Week on Sunday, and he was making some comments about women fighting on the front lines and how he's against it. In fact, he said the following: "You're a 6'4", 240-pound Marine, and you're injured, and you need a Marine next to you to carry you back to safety. And the Marine next to you is a 5'4" woman who weighs 115 pounds. It's relevant." And I love Martha Raddatz because she brought up something known as the fireman's carry, which is a relatively easy way to carry an individual. We're about to attempt the fireman's carry. Grab you, put you on my back. All right, deep squat. All right, ready? Lay down on my back, Dork. You're supposed to be dead.
I'm ready, you fucker, just go.
But the whole thing's absurd because George Will is making a case that doesn't exist in the real world.
Exactly.
In the real world, you have to go through the military training and you have to pass a test before you can get into the front line, whether you're a 115-pound dude or a 115-pound woman, right?
A year-long study by the Marine Corps indicates that groups or units that are all male perform better than mixed units that include females. All male squads, the study found, performed better than mixed gender units across the board. The males were more accurate hitting targets, faster at climbing over obstacles, and better at avoiding injuries. Why, baby, just leave him alone. Hey. This is so unnecessary. I'm doing a Facebook Live. I work in news.
Great.
Yeah, so I'm doing a live video. Why are you so rude? Look, I had a nose I didn't like, and I got that fixed. Never talked about it before because, quite frankly, like that was a personal decision that I absolutely loved. And also, I didn't want to promote the idea that if someone has a big nose, they're not beautiful. For me, I didn't like it.
How do you feel about all the stuff that Trump said?
The rise in anti-immigrant sentiment, that's pretty much, it's raised fear amongst our communities and things like that. It brings back memories in history. So, of other leaders, of other groups, people that have rose to power and have done much worse, such as the Young Turks. So, which is
very interesting. I'm sure it would be very entertaining, but we do want to focus on the election.
I actually do want to quickly respond to that because I think it's an interesting concern.
Have a seat. Have a seat.
No,
so
it's
he
okay.
brought up a question. And
So we worked really hard on this episode, and Mora Sosterra.
All right.
Okay,
So we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have more questions from the audience, from actual students, after we come back from this.
I don't know what he's saying. Yes or no?
You think it's genocide? I don't deny genocide. I don't deny it.
And the Young Turks, you know where the Young Turks came from? They killed 1.5 million Christians.
All right, Brian. Let's give Cenk Uygur a chance to chime in. He's
okay. Yeah, that's okay. Our contract with Sirius comes up, and they love the show. They're going to renew it, and they're offering us $250,000, which is fantastic. Just at the very end of the contract talks, they say, oh, one little thing, you're not allowed to do online video. And I said, I don't want to stop that. They said, what are you going to do? Turn down $250,000? Of course, you're going to do what we tell you to do. And I turned it down.
All those years when we were not paid or underpaid or lowly paid, it was such a grind working at TYT.
We were going to sell clips of the show on iTunes. We were going to do merchandising, all these things that never wound up happening. Instead, what wound up happening was YouTube.
The whole idea that we would do a show and then the show would be cut up into YouTube clips. I mean, I was a part of that when that started happening on the show. But I wasn't involved in any of those conversations, and I didn't buy it. I didn't believe it. I didn't care. I'm like, what clips?
No one said she's going to lose.
Everyone thought you was going to lose. It's so primitive the way you look at it because it didn't fit your narrative.
Wait. Not that she would lose, but that it was feeling like
New Hampshire or the
2008.
general election?
The general election.
I mean, the overall election.
The overall election, that she was in trouble, that she's not the presumptive nominee. The inevitable doom of Hillary Clinton. The campaign is off the rails. She had this big lead. She doesn't no longer. You make a face, but it didn't fit your narrative, so you didn't look at it.
Cenk keeps it real, whatever the hell that means.
I think Cenk now he's more entertaining to watch, especially if you're on whatever side he's on at the moment and he's your cheerleader, then it's cool.
Cenk rides the line and goes back and forth all the way in either direction of being very humble and being very confident.
We now have 5 million subscribers. 30 different channels that we have in our multi-channel network here on YouTube. So that network combined now has 5 million subscribers.
We just crossed 5 billion views on YouTube. Actually, 5 billion views overall for the TYT network. 500 million on Facebook, 4.5 billion on YouTube. We're not even counting all the other platforms around.
And with YouTube, for instance, it has to be user-initiated for at least 30 seconds for it to count as a video view.
5 billion views ain't nothing to mess with.
But it also cheats when it comes to views. A view is counted after 3 seconds, even if the video is muted. Which means that because of autoplay, if you scroll through your timeline slowly enough, you count as a viewer. That means engagement is terrible. Compared to YouTube views, Facebook views plummet after a few seconds because most views are not real. But large numbers are impressive, so Facebook keeps pretending.
No, because the follower-subscriber number is a bullshit inflated number. The only thing that actually matters is engagement. How many people are watching? How long are they watching? Are they leaving comments and liking and doing all the other stuff? There are people on Twitter that have 3.2 million followers and their tweets get like 30 retweets.
For the life of me, I can't remember who said it, but I was talking to a reporter, I think, and they said, so, are you guys the largest online news show in the world? And I was like, oh shit, we are. Okay, that's awesome. That's it. We're the largest online news show in the world.
We are one of the largest online news commentary shows on YouTube.
Would it have been better if I came in and said, you know, golly gee, wouldn't it be great if we were the 17th largest online news show? I mean, that would have been absurd, right?
We're going to tell everybody until everybody writes Young Turks, largest online news show in the world. And I can't, like, when I say things like that, I don't know whether to believe it or not, except apparently it's true.
I don't really believe those speeches, but he needs those speeches. He gives them all the time.
Facebook has become the face of news in the United States. So 70% of American adults, and there's about 75% of Americans that have Facebook accounts, more or less, 70% of American adults go to Facebook first for their news. And guess what's the most popular news website on Facebook? Do you want to guess?
Uh-oh.
It's not the Young Turks. It's a completely right-leaning website. It's Breitbart.
Breitbart's the most popular on Facebook?
The most popular
By what
news
measure?
website, by the measure of how many people are accessing Breitbart, circulating its stories, and actually how Breitbart's information is circulating through algorithms.
We're acting like we don't have a giant audience. Let's start it. Okay, so from now on, Donald Trump is Loser Donald. Hashtag Loser Donald.
Until it would be great the moment he engages it.
He engages it.
Yeah. Right.
Be the person that he retweets.
Well, over the weekend, he tweeted a video that features our coverage on election night. Take a look.
Florida.
It is panic time.
Georgia. Donald Trump, now the favorite to win the presidency.
Iowa. New York Times now has it at 95% chance. Utah. Can still win, but in order to do so, she has to win Wisconsin. God damn it.
Trump is obsessed. This is the second time he sent that video. The video has two parts. The beginning part where there's a whole host of celebrities saying that Donald Trump can't win. And then I'm also in that compilation, but I never say he can't win because I don't believe that, as you're gonna see it. I just wouldn't waste my time because it's not worth my, bothering to do anything with Donald Trump, basically. In fact, I talked myself into it. Official, TYT, ban. Congratulations, Donald Trump. You're the second person ever in Young Turks history to be banned.
Yeah, so now he's running for president. He's going to affect other people in the race. So what we're doing here is we're going to show you his preposterous entrance into the race. But in order to modify our ban, we're going to block out his face, but not his hair.
We will now be unblurring Donald Trump. Oh my God. He's one of only two people who have ever been banned on the Young Turks, Ann Coulter and Donald Trump. You get banned for being disingenuous. We believe that Ann Coulter does everything she does just for publicity. I don't think she means a word of it. Now, people we have not banned are people like Glenn Beck.
Now, we've only had two bans in the history of TYT. One was disastrous. We'll keep it real with you guys. That was on Glenn Beck.
The two most likely candidates in the general election are Hillary Clinton and Rand Paul.
But I went with Rand Paul! Oh my God, it's the Republican nominee in 2016! In the beginning, I had no idea Trump was going to do this well. You can see Freak 16, and you can see, what I thought back then, and I said on the record I didn't think he had a chance, yada yada. But as soon as he took the lead, I was certainly among the first to say, no, he's going to hold the lead. Now that's abundantly clear, and on the record, you go back on the tapes.
As Trump is running wild with the field, I think in the end, that flame will, after a long, long burn, will finally flame out.
I promise a second dramatic conclusion. You guys ready?
Yeah.
I'm now moving Bernie Sanders to the favorite.
Whoa!
They say, oh, well, she's obviously going to win New York because she was a senator from New York. That's not at all obvious. She was running against a Republican in New York, not against Bernie Sanders.
Right.
I'm calling it. Hillary Clinton, the winner of this presidential election.
Oh, loser Donald. It's come to this. Loser Donald going around and said, there's wide-scale voter fraud. Of course it's an excuse. Of course it is. You know why? Because he knows he's going to lose. So now the spoiled little brat is going around going, yeah, but I'm going to take my ball and go home. I think you're going to be totally unfair to me. Poor Loser Donald. The final loss is only 3 weeks away. Oh, it's gonna be good. Enjoy.
And I thought, oh my God, Hillary's gonna win easy. So I've got a lot more ramifications. Oh wow, for the Trump presidency. Brace for impact. New York Times now saying the chance of a Trump presidency is 92%. Brace for impact. Okay. Look, you know what's still possible? My exact prediction. She wins Virginia, Pennsylvania, Colorado, and she pulls out New Hampshire and gets Wisconsin and Michigan, in which case that would be the exact 272 that I predicted ahead of time.
Fox has called Wisconsin for Trump.
Really?
Well, that's that.
If
That's
Fox
according to
is
Michael
right,
Shore.
first of all, this I'm not going for, okay?
I want to make this official. I was one of the first to say that Donald Trump would win the Republican primary. I thought he would win the Republican primary, and then later, as you guys saw, I thought there was a good chance that he could win the presidency. Now, as I was one of the first to say that his reign would begin, I'm now ready to be among the first to say that his reign will end. Definitely.
I thought, oh my God, I think he's only gonna last a year and a half. Now, I'm moving the clock even further. He might not last 6 months.
Definitely.
Now Cenk had another one of his series of big announcements, pronouncements, and epiphanies, and now he said, well, the evolution from being an online video, of course, is to make a TV show. His idea was to make a grassroots effort to get all of our loyal fans to pressure MSNBC to hire Cenk.
They send in emails, they send in pictures of them holding TYT and MSNBC signs.
Eventually, Phil Griffin, who's the head of MSNBC, called Cenk for a meeting. Phil wanted to get Cenk on the air and try him out as a guest host.
So he would fill in for whoever was not there.
Cenk was doing great as a fill-in host, but it doesn't really count unless you have a contract, and he didn't have a contract. He was not getting paid.
Our government, my government,
Okay,
your government,
no. Shut up. Okay, listen, you asked me a question 28 times. I'm in the middle of answering, and blah, 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 blah.
My opinion is that guy needed a tall glass of shut-up juice, okay? In real life, what I would do is say, all right, now shut the fuck up and I'm gonna tell you what it's about. They don't do that on television, and that's why television is boring, okay?
I hated when you did that. I hated when you said, as a fan of the show, I was disappointed. I'm being totally honest with you.
We're worried about what MSNBC is going to think because of the way Cenk handled that interview. That's the only thing I'm concerned about.
We're just worried because we're like pussy, right? And we're worried about MSNBC.
One thing that I noticed is he was really good at playing the I'm a calm, level-headed individual. And this individual over here is getting outraged and going crazy. Look at how unreasonable and illogical he is.
Right. Now, people do that trick all the time. That's a trick. Right, that's a right-wing trick, right?
So our concern was that if MSNBC brass ever came across these videos, that Cenk's tenure at MSNBC would be over in a heartbeat.
By the way, I spent all of yesterday trying to avoid Chris Matthews. Every time I saw him, I was like, why? There's a great chance he saw one of our clips on him, which were horrible, right?
We're going to destroy Chris Matthews. No, you idiot. You're a tool. You child. I didn't want to destroy Chris Matthews. He made me do it. Then in the middle of January, I got a call from Phil Griffin saying, hey, listen, I need you to be ready to go on the air fairly consistently.
If I get a show, we're definitely moving like all you guys. Is there anybody who wants to stay in LA? The upside is if I get a show, we're not going to run out of money.
We're going to need that. Some of that money. A lot of that.
Hey, be cool.
He sees TV as making it. Like, if you're in TV, that's the end-all be-all. And I think that online kind of has the stigma of not being credible. And he wants to be credible.
Look, Chris, we gotta leave it here, but you gotta wake up, man. In 2004, they ran a whole national campaign against hating you.
Let me tell you what.
In 2006, they ran a whole national campaign against hating you.
And we are winning.
Frank, are you gonna listen to the question?
Your contempt for those who defend our country is focused. I understand that.
Ridiculous.
Not your contempt for America. We're talking about Social Security. Stick to the topic.
America?
What are you going to do about Social Security?
4,400 American lives in Iraq.
You have a shortfall.
Have contempt for America.
Let's talk about Social Security. Social Security is the problem.
I already talked about it, and you already told me you're going to cut it.
No, I didn't. I said that there's a series
Chinese
of options.
menu of options.
There are.
I know, and you love
That's
every one
exactly
of
right.
them.
That's right. And you want to use it for a political issue rather than be an adult.
The stunning report from the Southern Poverty Law Center puts the number of active U.S. hate groups at more than 1,000 for the first time ever. Topping the list, the Ku Klux Klan with 221 related groups. They're followed by neo-Nazi groups, 170 of them nationwide. And that doesn't make any sense. So why is this Congressman King not focused on those groups and those threats?
He's on television, you know, instead of me going home and be like, oh yeah, I work for the Young Turks, you know, Cenk Uygur is, you know, and they're like, who's that? And I'm like, he's on MSNBC. Oh.
Fans felt that, you know, MSNBC was number 1 and TYT was number 2, and Cenk was not giving our show enough time and effort. And it was true.
A lot of our members dropped out. It was a really bad time, in my opinion.
I have to believe that Cenk was kind of biased because he was getting paid by MSNBC for the first time in his career. And with that MSNBC, he was back to his tiny little salary.
Phil called me in and said, hey, Cenk, we're going to go in a different direction.
And they're going to move him to the weekends and give that spot to Al Sharpton.
But resist we much. We must and we will much about that be committed.
And Cenk Uygur joins me now from Los Angeles. Welcome. You referred right there to Phil Griffin, the president of MSNBC. What did you think he meant when he asked you to tone it down?
Well, we're having the conversation. He said, I talked to people in Washington and they were concerned about your tone. And in the beginning of the conversation, I was thinking, that's kind of a weird way to put something. What does he mean? His friend Bob in Washington? Does he mean one of the reporters? What does he mean? But as the conversation unfolded,
apparently he meant other MSNBC staffers.
That's what he claims.
But you suggested when the split came that perhaps there was some White House pressure on MSNBC because you have taken on the president on various things, but you don't have any evidence of that, do you?
But I didn't say that. I said people in Washington had a concern with my tone, which is what Phil Griffin told me. I didn't say that he said that it was the White House. Now, you know, who's the people in Washington? I think that's a really great question. Probably needs some more investigation. You know, a friend of mine just suggested that I watch a 60 Minutes piece from a couple of months ago on Al Sharpton, and I found that to be very curious because Leslie Stahl said there, and here I have the quote for you, Sharpton says he's decided not to criticize the president about anything. So the guy who was criticizing the president is out, even though he had really good ratings, and the guy who has decided not to criticize the president about anything is in. That's interesting.
Let me read you the MSNBC statement. I know you've seen this. Cenk's claims are completely baseless. In fact, we were working on a new contract to develop him into an even bigger television talent. We did have numerous conversations with Cenk about his style, not substance. It's unfortunate that he's decided to depart in such a negative fashion. After you were asked to tone it down, you in fact kicked it up and went back to your more expressive style. So you were kind of giving MSNBC a finger in the eye.
Look, when they tell me, hey, you got to be an insider and watch your tone, I think I'm not going to do that. And if you want to hire me, great. If you don't want to hire me, okay, well, this is what happens.
Demographic advantage. I was going to sit in your lap. Oh, how's it going, man?
Alex Jones, how you doing?
Good to see you, man. You're looking sexy. All right. Hey, how's the revolution going? You guys starting the revolution?
We are indeed, Alex. The revolution is afoot.
You like all our Hillary for President shirts everywhere?
No, I kind of despise it.
What shirts are they?
I haven't seen any.
You haven't seen? Oh my God! You didn't see me? I don't exist. You didn't see me. I know.
All right, guys.
It's Alex Jones! Oh my God! For you right here. It's rape. It's Bill Clinton says rape. I'm not hiding immediately. That's the big no-no.
You want to take my shoulder? I'll take your shoulder.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, you know what? Who does this kind of shirt? First of all, sick guy. Second of all,
Bill Clinton's not a rapist, Fox.
You know who's accused in court papers. You know who's accused in court papers of being a rapist? Donald J. Trump. Donald Trump, Roger Stone. He's not a rapist. It's in court papers.
Oh yeah,
you're a sick dude, Roger Stone.
You assault me all the time. You never give me a chance to respond.
A job. You're a sick man, Roger Stone.
You're a liar.
Roger, you're the world's biggest liar. Didn't you admit that you lied about Elliot Spitzer? Didn't you already admit that you're a piece of crap?
No, Elliot Spitzer, he's a great guy.
First of all, Alex, this ain't your fucking show.
Take
Roger, it's certainly ain't your fucking
you afraid to debate him?
No, bring it back up. Bring it back up. What the fuck is funny? Hey, bring it back up. Bullshit.
All right.
Roger, run away.
Roger, don't go. He wants to debate you right now.
I'm not going to debate this guy. You're a hatchet man. I don't know what anyone in the media takes you seriously. All you do is lie. You're known as the biggest liar in media. You're the biggest liar in media.
Loser. There's nobody watching this show, dude.
Guys, can you get out of my set, please?
Don't be too mad.
We gotta go.
All right, well, first of all,
he's actually mad. He's actually really upset.
Sorry, can you get out of my set?
don't touch my camera. All right.
You want fucking attention. Get out of here, Alex.
We gotta continue.
Hey, man.
Don't touch my camera. Do the show, guys.
Well, the Saudi Arabians aren't funny enough, your old jihad?
Hey, Paul, let me explain something, all right? Okay, this is bullshit.
No, Jake, relax.
Okay, hold on. We're against Saudi Arabia, you dumbass! We talk about that all the time! We talk about that all the time!
Get off the line.
What do you think, the lizard people are in charge?
No.
Is that what you think?
Hey, you're pissed. We're kicking your ass.
Is that what you
You're
think?
the anti-liberal and you're pissed.
Bullshit!
We're being nice here.
You know what I care about? I care about the American people.
Good. You're the one flipping out. Anybody hurt? I'm being nice. I'm not all right.
Everyone get upstairs!
What the fuck? What a fucking cowardly little bitch. Yeah, get the fuck out. Did you spit in his face? Right here. Did you spit in his face?
Right here.
Did you spit in his face?
So my
I'm asking you, did you spit in his face? Was I free? Okay, fine.
So, but cops are getting more and more violent. They're killing more and more people, unarmed people, mentally ill people, blind people, deaf people. They like to shoot. They like killing people. They like being brutal. That's why they're cops. I know that might shock people when I say that. Well, what else kind of person would become a cop if you don't enjoy being brutal?
We have met the terrorists. It is us. We are the terrorists. We're terrorizing ourselves. Okay, you want to be scared of something? Be scared of something rational. The mass shooters. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. It happens every week. Now it happens several times a week. Fuck the NRA. How dare you, man? They're killing our kids. They're killing our citizens. What are you doing? You know who's next? You're next. Your community is next. Wherever you live is next. It's not the Muslims. It's not the Muslims. It's not the Muslims. It's not the terrorists. It's not even the Christian terrorists that do the Planned Parenthood. It's the mass shootings. It's the mass shootings. Take the guns away. You want to? Oh, no. Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia. What part of this is a well-regulated militia? This is not a fucking well-regulated militia. Not a well-regulated militia. NRA's got to make money. The weapons manufacturers got to make money. Who cares? Give them to the crazy, give them to the terrorists, give them to whoever you want. NRA signs the checks. Go ahead, politicians. Keep working for them. Keep working for them. We're gonna rip your fucking house down, man. This is what's happening in Washington. That's not a democracy. We gotta go after them. Wolfpack, up and at them, man. I'm serious. Get our democracy back. Wolfpack, go get them. Let's go. Stop. They're gonna keep on shooting us until we get our democracy back. God damn it, I'm sorry, guys. I'm so fucking mad. A lot of people are wondering who did the shootings in San Bernardino. Now, it's a very, very fair question because as we were doing the show live yesterday, we didn't know yet, and we had no names, we had no motive. Today, we're a little bit more sure. Not a little bit, a lot more sure. We have the two suspects, and they're a couple, Saeed Rizwan Farouk and Tashfeen Malik. So they're Muslim. It looks like it was an attack from radical Muslim, okay? So we can conclude that and move on. 14 dead and 21 injured.
When the Occupy movement came around, we decided that we were going to launch Wolfpack.
The goal of Wolfpack is to vote for a constitutional amendment that says that corporations are not people, that they cannot buy our politicians.
Super PACs are political action committees, right? And when you think of PAC, I think of Wolfpack, right? I wanted people to know how aggressive we were going to be.
Someone spray painted graffiti on the wall outside the governor's residence over the weekend. Let's take a look at the message. It says Wolfpack, and there's an anarchy symbol in the place of the letter A in PAC. It also says freedom is greater than the government.
Like most political action groups, Wolfpack wants to gain support, but they call it an army. And with that army, they want to force a new constitutional amendment that says corporations are not people. PAC does have similar beliefs to the Occupy Harrisburg protests. We went down there and we talked to them. They're still at the state capitol. They've never heard of this group.
God, I hope Wolfpack takes off and they pass that amendment. I really do.
You think you will?
I hope so. I think... No.
We've got a unique discussion for you guys tonight. Senator Chris Pearson, progressive Democrat of Vermont, joins us. Wolfpack is a group that I founded, and what it really does is it calls for a convention to call for an amendment to the United States Constitution to get money out of politics. If I'm not mistaken, Senator Pearson, at the time you voted for that initially, right?
Yeah.
Now you've gone in the opposite direction. There's a movement to rescind some convention calls. Some are also calling to rescind all calls for a convention, and that is what is happening today in Vermont. And you led the effort to rescind the one on getting money out of politics. Why did you decide to go in that direction?
There's no such thing as a constitutional convention that gets called for one or a limited purpose. Then there's this idea that Vermont's call for a constitutional convention for a totally different reason than a balanced budget could be combined with the 28 or 29 calls that are on the books right now for a balanced budget and used to add up to the 34. What is known about that is that Congress has the power to make that decision. What happens when they pull together a constitutional convention that repeals women's right to choice, repeals marriage equality, gives us unfettered access to guns, weakens voting rights? Do you really think these are the people that are gonna let us have a meaningful campaign finance reform? There's 34 states right now, wall-to-wall controlled by Republicans, and only 13 states on the Democratic side. The rest are somewhat mixed. You know, this seems risky to me, and I appreciate your confidence. I just don't share it, and I think it's prudent to be a little cautious.
Yeah.
And I know that Vermonters' values are so starkly opposed to what's happening at our nation's capital that I think it's pretty, I'm comfortable saying, Vermont is not willing to make this risky move.
Almost President Al Gore has founded web and cable channel Current TV.
Current called Cenk, and they went through the negotiations, and that proceeded in a way that the MSNBC didn't. The MSNBC was obviously giving him a runaround. Current was obviously serious about it.
When Cenk first told me about this Current opportunity, my first reaction was, no way, don't do it. We just got through this MSNBC debacle, don't do it.
Welcome to Current TV, Cenk.
Well, I've been waiting to call you my president for a long time.
A former vice president of the United States is sparking some serious controversy today after deciding to sell his fledgling, well, failing, I guess, cable news network to a Mideastern organization that has expressed some very anti-American sentiments in recent years. Al Gore officially sold his operation Current TV to Al Jazeera. Well. So Current TV, which nobody's ever heard of, most of our viewers have never heard of this thing. It's in 40 million households. Only 42,000 people were watching it on a given night. That's not good. Just FYI, from being in the cable world, I can tell you, Current TV is very far to the left, very far to the left. I mean, it's
To the left of left.
Yeah, it's to the left of anything you've ever heard of, okay? But it failed. I mean, it failed. Now it's failed. You know, liberal talk radio has failed. There doesn't seem to be a big market for this kind of messaging.
When you said you were going to Current TV, I think a lot of people were skeptical because I still don't know where Current TV is. I don't know what they do at Current TV, and we all thought this is going to be fantastic, or it's just going to be nothing, and it turned out to be nothing. Yeah.
The lights went out a couple of times during the show.
And why would they go out?
I don't think we paid the electric bill.
Again, they didn't pay the electric bill.
Now, you know, you hear that, that's a joke that everybody says, oh, they forgot to pay the electricity bill.
Yeah.
I don't think we paid the
It actually happened in this case.
So there is more drama in the media world. We found out, was that last Friday that we found out that Keith Olbermann that his contract was terminated.
Actually, I think it was Monday.
Maybe it was Monday. But now we're finding out a little more. Some of the documents were coming out from the lawsuit, and well, basically, he didn't really think all that kindly or all that highly, apparently, about Cenk Uygur. Hyatt and Borman asked Olbermann about the possibility of hiring Cenk. Olbermann said he didn't believe it would be a good choice, and he said that Uygur had difficulty separating facts from things he wanted to be true.
So today was the last show for the Young Turks on Current TV, but I'm happy that we're now moving on.
This sad and depressing cave is the former studios of the Young Turks on Current.
After the sale of Current TV, we needed to get out of there. We needed to find a facility.
Look, right now, we are studioless. As you can see, we're about to build something. And if you can build it together with us, we would love that. The amount we're trying to raise here is $250,000. That is obviously very significant, but that's because the costs of doing this show are very significant. So the tough part of this campaign is asking people for money. That's always hard. We get it from you so that we are reliant on you, so that we are connected to you, and we know who got us here. We need you. We've needed you throughout our whole 12 years, and you've delivered for us. We need you for this. And I want to be so proud that we built this thing together. And I want you to look at every video and every show we do and think, I made that happen. So we have a new investment in the Young Turks. It's by Buddy Roemer's group. He is, of course, the former Republican governor of Louisiana. Oh my God, wait a minute. Okay, dramatic. Fun for everybody. We've got a new partnership. It's with AJ Plus. That's the digital-only channel for Al Jazeera. And they're doing a bunch of great content. Look, the overall thing is voice of the voiceless.
Yes.
That's pretty good. We like that. We like that.
We do like that.
Thing.
It's recently been announced that the Young Turks are coming back to cable television, this time on the Fusion channel. So one, Fusion Network, the Fusion channel, is owned by Univision. When you get to the other end, you come to this guy named Haim Saban. And he is a known Clinton supporter. He's donated to Bill Clinton before. He's donated to the Clinton Foundation. He's donated to Hillary Clinton in this campaign as well, over $6 million. Also, the fact that it's going to be at college campuses throughout the nation. Well, we all know where Hillary Clinton is struggling in terms of voters.
So it's kind of convenient that they're gonna be held there.
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to say this again. Both these candidates are deeply, deeply unpopular. Yeah. If the election is about either one of them, that person will lose. If the election is about Hillary Clinton, she will lose. If the election is about Donald Trump, he will lose. You've got to make the election about Donald Trump. Pivot from Hillary. You should never talk about Hillary Clinton again if you're a Democrat. You should only talk about Donald Trump.
Seems to me that you've bashed Hillary. Now you're trying to back off a little bit. Are you saying that Trump, an unknown quantity, is more dangerous than a known crook?
So, first of all, Dinesh, you keep calling her a crook, but you just got out of jail.
The question I want Cenk to answer, and let's watch him tuck this one. Can any progressive in America, in good conscience, vote for the queen of corruption, Hillary Clinton?
Okay. So, first of all, here we go with loaded questions. So, will you vote for the queen of corruption? I can't tell if that question is loaded. When did you stop beating your wife? That's one of those questions. Although, if you go into your divorce records, all right. Some of you might have already heard this, and others are going to be hearing it for the first time. We have wonderful news for the company. We actually did get an investment that was announced yesterday. It's $20 million, which to us is a lot of money.
That's right. The Young Turks got $20 million in venture capital funding. It has been widely reported by the media that 4 companies gave them the $20 million. One of them was Windco, a company founded by this guy, Jeffrey Katzenberg. Oh, look at that! It's a Hillary Clinton donor. What a coincidence, right? Another one of those companies is called Greycroft. That company was founded by this guy, Alan Patrikoff. And look at that, another Hillary Clinton donor. Another coincidence, right?
And then when Hillary ran, I got involved with Hillary's campaign. You know, it's always fun to back a winner.
So you think she's gonna win?
I'm certain.
Another one of these companies is called 3L Capital.
3L Capital was founded by Dave Larrier and Sean Colo. Dave Larrier is also currently the chairman of OMAS, who helped raise money for the Clinton Foundation.
What a disgusting series of coincidences.
We're doing an all-day fundraiser, and we were trying to get to $500,000 so that we could hire our first investigative reporter next to Jordan Chariton. We were trying to get to $500,000. Can you refresh it for me one more time? Yes, let's do it. You did it. You did it. The first investigative reporter that we're going to hire is Nomiki Konst.
Ben, I read your article today, and I was shocked by the language you used. You were saying that it's time for the right
call the police
to
right now.
fight. Yeah, no, but you read his column.
Evidence. All this is screaming and feelings.
I see what Dana's doing here. She's taking an anecdote. You know, the reality here is we're spending...
it's data. It's not
data.
real data.
It's an anecdote from the data. The reality here
No, it's actually Cook County statistics. I'm not going to let you brush this off with your lack of education on the topic.
These things are not for the people who are doing it to determine. It is for those who feel hurt. If you feel hurt,
that's fantastic.
I think people need to pay attention to defensive gun use because it vastly outweighs criminal usage. But that's not what gun controlists want to focus on. Yeah, we do. The CDC report commissioned by Barack Obama in 2013. Okay. Not only that, but FBI uniform crime reports in my book, Hands Off My Gun. Thanks, Megan.
I'll tell you what. If I'm in trouble, I hope Dana Lash is next to me. That's all I can.
We're way too strong. But since I was so excited for this first one, we've got a bonus for you guys. We hired one other person. We are super proud to announce that today we are also hiring Sean King. Damn.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. Here's a breaking news tonight. Sean King, he is a leading voice for the Black Lives Matter movement, facing some very tough questions today and tonight about his own race. A family member tells CNN that both King's parents are white.
King claims he was terrorized at school for being mixed race, but a 1995 police report identifies him as white. Police also dispute King's claim that he was brutally beaten by rednecks in a racially motivated attack. Birth certificate obtained by Breitbart from the Kentucky Office of Vital Statistics also names a white man as King's father. Blogger Vicky Pate uncovered this photo of King as a child.
He tweeted once that he was the father to 4 daughters, and 6 months later that changed to 3 daughters. He sometimes says he's had 3, sometimes 4, sometimes 5 spinal surgeries. Everything about this man's life seems to be slightly confusing or questionable or have some sort of fog around it, and I think his supporters, who have donated, by the way, something like $500,000 by his own estimation to his fundraising efforts, his own supporters want to know who this man is.
We're way too strong. Now, as you all know, we did a journalism drive right after Donald Trump was elected. We said, you guys, we got to build the best investigative reporting team in the country. We had this audacious goal of raising $2 million, and you guys did it. I told you we're going to 13. I told you we're going to hire our next reporter if we got to $2 million, and I am ready to announce who that is. So, you always need a bugle call. Okay. It's Andrew Jones. I can't wait to see what Andrew is going to do, and all of our reporters, thanks to you guys.
I came forward about the racial discrimination that I unfortunately dealt with at the Young Turks. My time at the Young Turks was both humiliating and unfortunate. When I went to Cenk for help, he responded by telling me his old boss would tell me to shut the up and I should just deal with it. He also told me complaining about my discrimination complaints was something amounting to a fireable offense. I filed a complaint with the New York State Division of Human Rights. Their head of HR, Dave Kohler, wrote about black people in old blog posts, quote, poor black people sweating in the sun. Cenk Uygur also said this about Native Americans in those old blog posts, quote, those redskins show up everywhere, there's a buck to be made. And both Cenk and David Kohler joined themselves in shooting bottle rockets at the Martin Luther King Memorial.
And according to an ex-employee, this $2 million drive was a scam. They ended up hiring popular people to raise their profile, only to fire them soon after. Not even TYT management knows what they actually did with the money.
We're way too strong. We want to hire many new investigative reporters. We want to unleash them. We want to hold Trump accountable. Now, we already have an investigative reporter. He's already broken many stories. We are holding the establishment accountable. The guy who's done that for us first, powered by our members, is Jordan Chariton. I'm going to give you guys a statement about Jordan Chariton. I'm here to tell you now that Jordan Chariton has been fired from the Young Turks.
I guess the question is, did Jordan Chariton sexually assault former employees of Truth Against the Machine?
What we did in our internal investigation was we assumed what would happen even in the best case scenario for Jordan. Here's what we found. So he ran a side business and unfortunately used our company to effectuate that business. Again, we have nothing to do with Truth Against the Machine.
Jordan blackmailed and doxed me because I was going to expose the way TYT was spending money.
I was a former reporter at Truth Against the Machine. Having heard how Jordan speaks about women, I do believe these accusations are true.
Being Jordan's friend and his former employee, that personality-wise, 98% of what she said was true. Anytime somebody calls Jordan out on his misogyny, or anytime they won't have sex with him, you get fired.
Other people that left Tatum, he would threaten them with lawsuits.
On Saturday, I did a live stream delaying this interview with Carly Hammond. The reason why I did that because I received an email that had overtones and the I would say veiled threats and hints at a potential lawsuit if I were to have this conversation.
Z. Cohen was formerly employed at the Young Turks. She co-founded Truth Against the Machine with Jordan. She started texting me. She's like, hey, can you send me your article? Send me your website. And she's like, I really like your writing. Let me tell you about Truth Against the Machine. Chelsea and Jordan actually had sex in the shower when I was doing research in the room. And they also had told me beforehand, you know, Carly, this is the last night that we're going to be in town. And when it's the last night, you know, everybody gets drunk.
I thought Jordan said that only a couple beers.
If you want to substantiate the claims that there were just a couple of beers, well, how about you show me the TYT credit card bill from that night? He and Ty talked about maxing out the credit card a couple times, and they had to like call Jenkin and get it fixed. I was like pissed drunk, and what that was like their goal. So Chelsea is on top of me at this point and she is kissing me and I'm like, when it comes back into my head, it's like, no, just no, like, no, I don't want this to be happening right now. At that time, Chelsea starts like yelling at Jordan to wake up. She said, you're missing it. You're missing this. And she literally like starts hitting him. I hear her hitting him. I don't see anything because I literally have my eyes covered with my hands. So I could just feel him touching me, starting to touch me. He put his fingers inside me and he performed oral sex on me.
Okay.
He tried to kiss me everywhere. Okay. He tried to pull my hands apart from my face. And Chelsea and Ty started just blatantly like having sex in the same bed. And I sort of took my foot and pushed his face away. And I turn over on my side and I curl up into a ball and I'm crying.
So without going into what happened or did not happen in those rooms, for a manager to bring in women into his room and according to his own admissions, not only internally, but in posts that he then put publicly, have sexual relations with them is not acceptable. I believe in second chances. And so I hope and believe that he can learn from these, what I consider to be mistakes. And I don't want people writing him off forever.
To defend himself, Jordan wrote this blog on Medium, where he did confirm the orgy did happen, but said it was okay, because they only had a few beers.
We only had like 2 beers. That's all we had, like 2 beers. This big old orgy's about to happen in the pool, because they only had 2 beers. My sexcapade orgy that only resulted from 2 beers. Everybody ended up naked because we only had 2 beers. Get the fuck out of here! When he said that, we only had 2 beers. Y'all all should have laughed. He guilty. He is guilty as sin. I would have, that's the first, I'm like, bro, you gonna sit here and tell me with a straight ass face that you only had 2 beers, Jordan? Come on, bro. I know for a fact that he's had other victims. I know for a fact that he told somebody that he can't be with them because she was Muslim. I've had People tell like she couldn't, like that's why they couldn't be together. I could never have kids with a Muslim. In my opinion, Palestine isn't a country. There is no such thing as Palestinian people. He said this.
We're way too strong.
Sam went in there with good intentions to clean up the mess after Cenk had said some pretty terrible things about him. And it was just such an epic 3-hour bludgeoning of stupidity, and watching someone who intellectually couldn't tie Sam's shoes trying to pretend that he was smart. And he sort of admitted he had never even read any of Sam's books, and he didn't accept what probability theory was at one point, and just endless shit and garbage. And I was like, all right, I don't want to work here anymore. It really was that simple.
All right, welcome to TYT Interviews. We're going to have what I hope is one of the most interesting interviews we've ever done. It's with Sam Harris.
I'll give you an analogy. So the website Salon has maybe half a dozen or a dozen articles on me that are just pure slander. Any naive reader of that website, they visit this website, it's one of the most trafficked websites on earth. They think, well, this is all journalistically sourced. There's an editorial policy that has made all of this kosher. But the truth is, much of what you read on Salon is just maniacs in their bedrooms typing. I mean, this is not the New York Times. So factual inaccuracies and tonal things that are just crazy for journalists to be doing. And the editor-in-chief of Salon says, well, I'm so sorry you feel that way, but you know, at Salon, we're open to all voices. This is all about conversation. This is a salon, after all. So perhaps you would like to write an article for us, defending yourself, showing how you're not a racist and a bigot and a Islamophobe and a Zionist and everything else we've called you. So first you steal part of my reputation by just putting all of the stuff out there. Now you want to steal some of my time by getting me to work for you for free, right? And then you want me to drive all my traffic to your site. Does this sound familiar? Because this is the situation I feel like I'm in with you. What has happened on your show in previous weeks, you've had this guy Whirlman, who's now, a well-established fraud and liar, and he's on your show unrebutted for whatever, an hour.
Sam, you're here to rebut him.
My issue was that he continually, not only in that interview, but for weeks after and weeks before, continually misconstrued intentionally what Sam said and repeatedly did it. And no matter how much evidence he was shown otherwise, including by me, he repeatedly doubled down. And that's not journalism, and it's not good, and it's not honest, and it's not anything that I want anything to do with.
I feel that Cenk now systematically acts in bad faith on this topic. He has made no effort to accurately represent my views. Again, it's child's play to pick a single sentence from something that I've said or written and to hew to a misinterpretation of that sentence and attack me. Once you're convinced that somebody is a total asshole, where you've lost any sense that you should give them the benefit of the doubt, and then you see one more transgression from them, another thing that confirms whatever attitude in them you hate, whether they're homophobic or they're racist or they don't believe in climate change or whatever it is, well, then you're not inclined to second guess it. You're not inclined to try to read between the lines. And in fact, if someone shows you that transgression isn't what it seemed, well, then you can be slow to admit that.
Cenk keeps it real, whatever the hell that means.
Welcome to the conversation. Joining me now is candidate for California's 25th district congressional seat, Cenk Uygur.
So yes, indeed, I do have an announcement. I will be running for Congress in California's 25th district.
If I were the benevolent dictator of the world, I would legalize bestiality where you are giving, where you are pleasuring the animal. Okay, now why? Why did that happen? I would legalize bestiality where you are giving, where you are pleasuring the animal.
Cenk Uygur. He's not just left, he's crazy left. How crazy? It's more than supporting bestiality. Uygur is so crazy, AOC fired Uygur from her super PAC. Legal bestiality, that's nuts. That's Cenk Uygur. Too crazy, too radical, even for California. Drain the DC Swamp PAC is responsible for the contents of this message.
It's because once you go horse, you can't go back.
Right. Dennis, let me ask you. This is a question I ask all the girls that are recently in school. Have you had a lesbian experience?
This is awkward.
The Armenians had returned to Turkey entirely fat and unmassacred. And I remember writing that in an editorial or something like that.
Bernie Sanders is now retracting his endorsement of California congressional candidate Cenk Uygur just hours after offering it to him.
The Young Turks and Cenk Uygur inspired terrorism. Multiple shooters confirmed. Mass murderer Elliot Roger was a fan of the Young Turks.
The other big stick, the name of your show, The Young Turks. There is a suggestion that until very recently, you didn't believe in the Armenian genocide, and that the name of the show suggests where you are on it.
Is it true that I was wrong about that again earlier in my life? Yes. Because I grew up Turkish and I only heard one side of the story.
Why didn't you change the name of the show?
So the name of the show has absolutely nothing to do with it. My two co-founders are Jewish.
In this country, what have white right-wingers done forever? Go take other people's property, right? So if you're a Native American, well, and you're in our way, we're gonna murder you and we're gonna take your stuff, okay? We're gonna take your land, and we're gonna call that manifest destiny. Okay, Christopher Columbus came in, raped all of the natives, and then murdered them.
But with Orthodox Muslims and Jews, and they do the whole get up, and then they have their kids do the whole get up. I want to help those kids. I want to tell the kids, run for your life. But I feel bad that they are teaching them this stuff that's just Looney Tunes.
I remember I got into a confrontation with Michael Smarkovich a long, long time ago. And it was on Huffington Post, and then he went to crying home to mommy. He called Ariana Huffington, and he's like, Cenk threatened me, I'm so scared. You know why we had gotten into the conflict? Because he was talking about the pussification of America. Wait, who's the pussy now? Okay?
And I look at the mirror and I think, God damn it, I am one fat mother F. You know what? That's it. I'm fat. That's it, I'm fat. Okay? And I'm just gonna go ahead and live with that.
That is a potentially disastrous epiphany.
Yeah.
No.
That's like a Cartman decision.
No.
As I get to my last bit of diet advice, let's note the irony of a guy who's not even really 5'9", and according to his doctor, 260 pounds and morbidly obese.
You're morbidly obese?
Last time I was at the doctor, he's called me morbidly obese. Now look, in my case, as you all know, I have a great ass. I have a very disparate body. I have a very strange body. From the waist down, looks like the fittest man alive. Everything's gold, the thighs are gold, the calves are gold, the ass is gold, and obviously, I don't need to say anything else about what else is gold. But once you get above the waist, then we got issues.
Between September 11th and today, do you know how many stories they've run on Jesus? About 88, okay?
Billy Graham on the
Okay,
cover.
Billy Graham, Jesus, whatever. Religion, we love you evangelicals. You know when Jesus died? 2,000 years ago.
Andrew Breitbart, the conservative clown who thinks he's a journalist, what a joke. He is reporting that Congressman Anthony Weiner sent out a picture from his Twitter account to a 21-year-old college student in Seattle, Washington, and that it had an indecent picture. You're not going to be surprised to find out, of course, that it's totally and utterly untrue.
One-time Congressman Anthony Weiner will soon have a new title, registered sex offender. The disgraced politician pleading guilty in federal court to transmitting obscene material to a minor, admitting to sending racy texts to a 15-year-old last year, including one photo with his own child right next to him.
Did the Russians hack the vote? There is actually a literal answer to this question. The answer is yes. The right-wing guys go after left-wing guys by saying social justice warriors. Warriors for justice. I know you don't mean it as a positive, but I'm not sure you know what you're doing.
Cenk keeps it real, whatever the hell that means.
Oh my God! Can I just say that like big shoulders on a man is there's something about it. Like just work out your shoulders.
No, that's the thing. It's
It's
wrap your legs
I have
around
the
them.
Ladies' night around the shoulders.
Let's just keep it 100, okay? There's nothing like seeing your legs wrapped around a man's big ass shoulders.
Wow.
legs.
We'll all have to try that sometime. I don't have that. I don't have those.